here, you can see that he's keeping his army split. He basically has a group of units up towards the top and up towards and down towards the bottom. So he has this army effectively split in two, and taking down a spine crawler that was trying to work in there with that combined fire, basically one-shotting that building. And those stalkers blinking up underneath the broodlord, trying to focus it down. And some Psystorm going down, softening up a lot of those roaches, although as you can see, Psystorm doesn't do a huge amount of damage to roaches. It's much more effective against the Hydralisks. And we do see a Nidus Network going out kind of in the middle of the map here. Not sure why he chose to build it out here, other than I guess he has most of his army out here. But if he does get in a pinch where he has to fall back, that Nidus Network will go down pretty quickly. Oh, and Psystorm going down on those burrowed roaches and Hydralisks, doing so much damage. It's got 2 Psystorms on it, and another one going down. Wow, just a lot of Psystorm from the Protoss player. You can see how much easier it is to cast Psystorm using that smart casting that is in StarCraft 2. And it looks like the Protoss player is starting to mass up a pretty good-sized army again. One Immortal coming out to join the fray, as Immortals do a lot of damage to the Zerg army, especially roaches, since they have a lot of armor. And Dimaga constantly unburrowing his units. I'm not sure exactly why he's doing that, but anyways, going back to the expansion here up in the corner, it looks like for whatever reason, Dimaga has allowed that to stay there. There is a warp prism up here that I don't know. I didn't see if it was trying to warp in any units or not, but it got taken down by a couple Hydralisks, and some cannons up here guarding this, although it is not heavily guarded, so I don't think it would be a huge deal trying to take that out, especially since he does have Nidus Networks now. He would be able to get an Overlord up in the corner there and spot so he could drop down a Nidus Worm. Although the problem, of course, that this Protoss player has a lot of units right at the front door. So if he leaves too much of, if he runs too much of his army out of his base, he could see a very swift attack to his main here and lose a lot of his tech tree. And it looks like the Zerg player about to take on the Protoss army here. Although playing cat and mouse a little bit here, Stalker's blinking forward, trying to fire down some of these Broodlords. This one Broodlord with 16 hit points, very narrowly escaping the combined fire of those Stalkers once they blinked up. And those still a healthy amount of Stalkers. More Zealots getting in the mix now, but the number of Immortals starting to build up. That Psystorm, of course, missing the main army of the Zerg player. So a lot of back and forth action at this base, although not a lot of casualties recently. It looks like we may be building up to a bit of a critical mass here soon, and some Ultralisks coming out for Dimaga now. Those Ultralisks are going to soak up a lot of damage, although against the Immortals, they take a lot more damage too. So, oh wow, and one Ultralisk getting fired down relatively quickly here. I would like to see him get the queen up in the mix here so he can heal these Ultralisks as they start to get fired on. These Ultralisks, of course, have a lot of hit points, so the healing ability from the queen can be very, very useful. And some great Psystorms going down on the main army of Dimaga. Dimaga taking a lot of damage from those Psystorms. Most of his army was underneath those 2 Psystorms. And there is an Observer out here, so it's going to see these burrowed units, and these burrowed units getting Psystormed as they are helpless underground. More Psystorm going down now. These Ultralisks are taking a lot of punches before they're able even to really get in the fight. And it looks like the Protoss player just playing a lot of cat and mouse right now, taking shots and backing up, never taking too much damage to his own army, but always able to get off a few Psystorms so that he is able to effectively force this Zerg army to take some shots and then back off, because at this point it seems like they are a little bit overpowered. Only 2 Ultralisks left for Dimaga, as he does have 40 Roaches, 4 Infestors, and about 24 Hydralisks. And as you can see, 22 Stalkers, a couple Colossi, and 13 High Templars, along with the 4 Immortals for the Protoss player. So there is an awful lot of high-tier units right now, and the 13 High Templars really the story of keeping the Zerg player out of his base at this point, because those High Templars, when they're able to throw down that Psystorm, do just so much damage, and the Zerg player really has to be careful about microing his army so that he does not take too much damage from those Psystorms. And it looks like Dimaga just has an insane amount of money, as you can see here. Over 9,000 minerals right now, although very low on gas. So we may see him switch to a much lower lower gas required build here in a little bit, because obviously not going to be able to continue to produce Ultras and Infestors and such at this rate of gas consumption, just because there is so much gas being used for this build. Although it does look like he has a couple bases where he has not really started mining the gas yet, so he does still have a lot of gas available to him. He just needs to get to it at this point. And going to the Protoss player Hasu here, he does have a decent amount of minerals and gas, although he is down to 1 base. His natural expansion has been mined out here. He does have this second base. I totally forgot about this base in the top left here, which still has not been touched by Dimaga, and I'm not sure why he has not done anything with it yet, because it doesn't seem like it would take out a whole lot to take this down, and we may see a huge battle here. A lot of Zerg units starting to move in, although going to have to back out because of the amount of Psystorms going down at the front of that entrance. This narrow choke point, although not super narrow, with how many Zerg units are trying to come down there and how many High Templars the Protoss player has, very easy for him to just set down a load of Psystorms and just completely decimate that Zerg army when they're trying to come in. And these Void Rays taking, you can see there the fungal growth getting down on the Void Rays there, which not doing a whole lot of damage, only does 36 damage, but basically keeps them from moving. As far as doing damage, it's much more effective against infantry of Terran and miners and such like that. But if you need to lock up a chunk of an army, that is definitely a good way to do it. So, and we do see a mothership now out for the Protoss player, and it looks like a Nidus Swarm trying to come up in the back of Hasu's base, although Dimaga trying to get it up there, but of course Hasu spots it and kills it before it's able to get up and kill anything. So unfortunately a failed attempt for Dimaga there, and it looks like Dimaga is going for yet another base, pulling down the high yield minerals on the other side of the map, which is closest to his natural, and it looks like he has finally put up another hatchery up at his natural expansion as well. So we may see some units moving over there to mine here shortly. Now this game has turned into a pretty epic battle. There's becoming a large mass of units from both players, and if we look at the resources tab here, we can see both players very, very close to maxed out, and both players also have a large amount of resources. So we are kind of coming to a critical stop point where there's going to be a large battle here, and then we're going to have to see what happens after that. Of course, right now Dimaga has a huge advantage with how many sort of resources he has, because even if he loses most of his army, he can reproduce a lot of that army very quickly. And it looks like Dimaga going to try to attack this Protoss army, even though he does have the mothership overhead, which is causing those units to be cloaked. And I do not see an Overseer anywhere nearby right now. So there are a few coming up right now, though, and some Psystorms going down on the Burrowed Zerg army. And it looks like that mothership is pretty low on health, so he's going to have to be careful not to let that get fired down. Unfortunately, the mothership moves so slowly. Some great Psystorm going down. Fungal Growth trying to lock up some of this Protoss army, getting a few of the High Templars. More Psystorms going down, and it looks like this mothership is going to get focus fired down by the Corruptors and Hydras, although more Psystorms still doing damage to some of their own Void Rays. And another Psystorm. Oh my goodness, so many Psystorms. And Dimaga loses so much of his army, although he does manage to do a lot of damage, and still an enormously large amount of High Templars for Hasu right now. And he's continuing to throw down Psystorms as Dimaga tries to push in the front entrance of his base here right now, and just not really able to push in past this front army. And Dimaga's going to have to macro up some more units pretty quickly here, because this very strong Protoss army is soon not going to have any Zerg units holding them back from just going on a rampage and taking out expansions from Dimaga. And you can see now units starting to stream from all corners of the map as he is trying to macro up more forces frantically so that he can take on this Protoss army. Of course, one of the biggest concerns going to be these High Templars and the two Colossi backing up this army, because the High Templars with their Psystorm has been the saving grace for Hasu right now. And as you can see, just throwing down tons of Psystorm as this Protoss army tries to run away from the Zerg player. And with between the Psystorms and those Colossi splash damage, he's just able, you can see how weak most of these these Zerg units are. And we do see, as Dimaga streaming more units, he is able to macro up quite a large army very quickly. And you can see, even though he lost most of his army, he has already macroed back up to around 190 supply. So again, having hatcheries all over the map has allowed him to do that. And more Psystorms continuing to go down. These Hydras just melting to all of these Psystorms. Oh my goodness. That is just terrible, terrible damage. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry I had to pull out the Dustin Browder comment there, but that was just absolutely insane. Let's take a look at some of these High Templars. 8 kills for this one, 3 kills, 12 kills, 9 kills, 5 kills. Just so many kills just from these High Templars. And I'm sure there's some that I did not pick up that have gotten a lot of kills as well. And this Colossus fresh now, and 57 kills from this Colossus. Oh my goodness. That is a baller Colossus. That Colossus has a lot of notches on his belt. And wow, somehow I missed this, I apologize, but apparently the hatchery for Dimaga was taken out at the high yield in the midst of all that fighting back and forth, and Hasu has gone and tried to put up his own expansion here, although it looks like Dimaga has seen it, so Hasu's going to be forced to cancel it, and moving out to take on the Zerg army yet again, although backing off now that he's stopped them from taking that base for at least the time being. The mothership back out for HasuObs. Remember that Protoss players can only